Hey everyone, welcome to Boston New Technologies Scaling Up Business Seminar. This is our 7th in this series, which is geared towards any topics geared towards building your business, growing your team, and in this case, actually helping your business survive through this crisis. So this is all about how to find capital to survive this crisis. And Boston New Technology is a not-for-profit community organization. It's the largest tech and startup group in New England and one of the largest in the world. And we're also geared towards helping startups launch and get promoted and find all the resources they need. We have a monthly startup showcase that we do, and we have number 112 coming up soon. We're actually going to focus a lot on COVID-19 and a lot of great things that the tech and startup community has been doing to support this crisis. And I personally work in software and app development, and I'm actually working on a website called topvirusinfo.com, which will launch by end of this month to host a lot of the great resources and free services that so many companies are offering right now. And Anthony's going to talk about some of the programs, of course, today. So without further ado, let me ask Anthony to kick things off. Anthony Price.
Okay, thanks a lot, Chris. What I'm going to do is I'm going to see if I can share my screen with everyone right now. And can you see the screen now, Chris?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Well, thanks a lot, Chris, for putting this together. I know that we're living in some challenging times right now, but as entrepreneurs, we need to be excited about the opportunities once we get past this COVID-19 thing. So entrepreneurs and small business owners, these are the speed bumps that we deal with as business owners. So I'm excited to be here. And so without further ado, let's jump into the presentation, Scaling Up Business, Finding the Capital You Need to Survive the Crisis.
Super.
Yeah, so let's get this going. So a little bit about myself. As Chris mentioned, my name is Anthony Price. I'm a former economic development executive. I worked in some major cities in Connecticut, helping to recruit businesses, retain businesses. So over the years, I've worked with all kinds of businesses, from startups to companies that scaled up to 50 to 100 employees or so. So I have a considerable amount of experience doing that. I started my business LootScout almost 5 years ago. In July it will be. And what my business does is we help entrepreneurs build better businesses and source capital. I've worked on all kinds of deals, from angel investor deals to economic development deals to bank deals. And pretty much everything else in between. So I'm really delighted to be here and share my experiences. So that's a little bit about me, and we'll go into a little bit more details as I'm going through the presentation. So we'll go down to that. One of the things that I want to talk about today that is really, really essential, everyone is ready to get money for their business and grow their business and that sort of thing. But one of the most important things for any business is to create value. At the end of the day, everything that we do should revolve around to create value for our customers. And if we're not creating value, then we shouldn't be in business, whether that's a restaurant, whether that's a technology company, whether that's a babysitting business, whatever it may be. Our whole goal is to create value. So I want people to focus in on creating value, and because that's how we make our living. I just want to turn this into a slideshow so I don't have to take it. Okay, so that's better. So we need to create value. So absolutely, we need to create value. So my ask for you today is, if I'm not creating value, let me know. If I am creating value, please consider purchasing the books I have available. I'm the author of the book, Get the Loot and Run. On the left is the full-size book. That's a 400-page book that has all the different ways to source capital, over 40 different ways to source capital. And also, it's the most comprehensive book on the marketplace to building a better business and sourcing capital. There's no other book on the market that does both of those. So if you appreciate the value that I created for you this morning, consider purchasing Get the Loot and Run, the full-size book. And on the right, to my right, is I created a mini book series. So I know a lot of people don't want to read a 400-page book, but there is mini books. What I call mini books are 48 pages of reading that fits in your pocket. So it's about 30 minutes worth of reading. If you don't want to read the full-size book, these mini books are available, and they both are affordable. So if you like the value that I created for you, please support what I do in terms of this information. It's taken me years and years of experience to learn what I'm doing. So once again, if you appreciate the value I created, go to LootScout.com and purchase either the full-size book or the mini book, and I'll mail those out today whenever I get the order, and you'll get them in a couple days. And if you order the full-size book, one other thing I want to add to you in terms of creating value is that if you order the full-size book, I'll give you a 1-hour free consultation. Any questions you have about raising capital, how to do it, where to do it, any of those things. So if you order the full-size book, I'll give you 1 hour of free consultation. So that's the value I'm creating for you. Thanks. So let's get into the presentation. So here's the agenda. The agenda is pretty ambitious. I mean, we can talk about capital for days and days, but I've narrowed it down to these 5 areas. We're going to talk about the federal government funds that are available, PPP program, which is the Paycheck Protection Program, and the SBA Economic Injury Disaster loans. We'll talk about that program. That's number 1 on the agenda. Number 2 on the agenda, we'll talk about the state programs that are available. Every state throughout the country has some programs that are offering entrepreneurs. So we'll talk about those state programs that are available. We'll also talk about some grant programs that could be available for certain businesses. Number 3 on the agenda is investors and crowdfunding. So if you're looking for investors, there's still opportunities to raise capital from investors out there. In addition to that, crowdfunding is a phenomenal way to take control of the whole process. Instead of waiting for an investor to say you're worthy, crowdfunding is an opportunity. So we'll talk about that. And number 4 is position your business for survival. So it is no longer about being business as usual. We are in a survival mode, and as entrepreneurs, we have to do everything we can to survive, and that means pivoting for many businesses. And we'll talk about how some companies have pivoted to take advantage of the situation. And then number 5, we'll talk about the future. I have some predictions based on what's happened. There really isn't going to be there'll be actually a new norm as a result of what's happening, as a result of what's happened through this crisis. So we'll talk about that. So those are the 5 agenda items that we're going to go through. We're going to go pretty quickly. Chris will be monitoring questions. So if you have questions, Chris will queue those up, and we'll save plenty of time to answer any of your questions. Just to let people know, I'm based in Connecticut, but I do deals all over the country. This year I've traveled all over. Last year I was all over the country, everything from Boston, New York City to San Diego to Indianapolis. So I travel all over. So don't let distance be a distraction for you, because I can consult anywhere throughout the country. So without further ado, let's get into the presentation. So let's talk about the CARES Act. That's really the big program that everyone's talking about, is the CARES Act. One thing I want to say about the CARES Act is things are changing quickly. This legislation was passed Friday. It'll be 2 weeks, and within a week, they actually had a program up and running, which for government is phenomenally fast. I would say for any company to set up a program within a week is phenomenal. There certainly are going to be some challenges in managing this program from the government's perspective, but think about this. They put together a $2.2 trillion economic stimulus package for businesses. And so they put that together, or it was voted, and then they put it online within a week. I mean, so that's phenomenal. But so a lot of things that I'm saying, sometimes these things are changing as we speak based on what some of the regulations that the SBA has put in place or has changed in the relationships that they're working with the banks. So don't hold me to every little nuance that I'm saying today, because things are changing. This is a rapid situation. It's organic, it's dynamic, it's changing. So everything is subject to change, but the general parameters I'm talking about will be the same and consistent. So let's jump in. So the CARES Act is the Coronavirus Aid, Relief, and Economic Security Act. As everyone knows, it's $2.2 trillion. And we've got about a $20 trillion economy. And as of what's happened right now with state governments and local entities shutting down business, it's almost as if someone hit a light switch and turned off our economy. And that's how serious it is. And actually a lot of the repercussions we'll be feeling for a while. It's sort of like a battleship. You just can't press a button and the battleship turns on a dime. It's going to take a while for our economy to get back up and running. And that's why Congress passed this $2.2 trillion stimulus package to help businesses and so forth. And all of you watching, there's opportunities for you to take advantage of it. If you're one of those people who says to themselves, I'm never going to take money from government, this is not the time to think that way. This is the time to do everything you can to survive. Because once again, we are in survival mode. And if you want your business to survive, if you want your livelihood to survive, if you want to help your employees, if you want to help your family, think survival mode. So every dime that is available to you, please take advantage of it, because you're going to help yourself, you're going to help your family, and overall, you're going to help the economy. So you're going to be being a good patriot and helping us all get back to life after COVID-19. So that's the CARES Act, $2.2 trillion. I'm going to talk about a couple programs that everyone's been talking about. You may have heard some of this, and actually, as I said before, a lot of this is constantly evolving and changing. But the first one is the SBA Economic Injury Disaster Assistance Program. This is a program where you're applying directly to the government. Normally, SBA lenders are banks and so forth, so the SBA just provides a guarantee. With this program, you're applying directly to the United States government. So that's one thing I want people to know. You're applying directly to the United States government. I looked at some statistics the other day. The SBA has about 4,000 people that work for their organization throughout the country. And because of what's happened, they've brought on some private sector companies to manage some of the process, because they've been overwhelmed. In fact, everyone's been overwhelmed by the amount of need that's out there. So just some key bullet points about this program. You can get up to $2 million for your business through this program when you apply. The interest rates are 3.75 for for-profit businesses and 2.75 for nonprofit businesses. So those interest rates are really great. They're really competitive. And so that's going to help your business get moving forward. The terms are up to 30 years, which is phenomenal. So depending on the amount of money that you do get for your business, you'll have ample time to be able to pay this back and get your business back on track. And so there's a couple different programs. I'm going to talk about the Paycheck Protection Program in a little bit, but I want to keep going to this program. An interesting thing about this particular program is that there is a $10,000 emergency grant available to businesses. And when I say businesses, you could be a for-profit business, you could be a nonprofit business, you could actually be a sole proprietor. So any business entity is available. I know a number of clients that have helped them walk through this process so they can apply for this $10,000 grant. The interesting thing about this $10,000 grant now, originally when they came out with this grant, there really was no specific stipulations. You fill out a short application. It's basically 4 pages. You can get it done in 10 minutes. All they're asking for is the name of your business. They're asking for your social security number or your employee identification number. They're asking how much revenue that you had last year, what your cost of goods sold was, and some other information. They'll ask for your bank account information, routing number and the bank account number, and some other information. It's a really simple application. I suggest if you haven't applied, apply for it. The only thing that's happening with this program now is that in the media, from what I've seen, originally the grant was going to be for pretty much any business. Now they're saying potentially that they may only give a certain amount to businesses based on employees. So don't hold me to that. I've read that in a number of different places. I'm on the SBA list of where I get information on a regular basis. Nothing has been said. So what I would do is apply for this program. The $10,000 emergency grant was supposed to be available to businesses within 3 to 5 days. It hasn't happened. I don't know anyone who's gotten it yet, but it is something that as you go through the application, check that. And in fact, you can sort of opt out for the rest of the application. If you just want the grant, you just check that box and then that's it. And as I said before, you're applying directly to the Small Business Administration. So if you went to sba.gov, this information is right on the front page where it mentions the coronavirus assistance. So it's pretty quick. I'd recommend that as doing that as soon as possible because the line is pretty long right now. And so I put a screenshot of what the application looks like, the process looks like. When they first started this process, it was sort of a nightmare. But they've brought in some private sector people, and the SBA has worked with their internal staff to revamp the website, and it's a much better experience. You'll be impressed that it's a much easier process than originally started about a week or so ago, a little over a week. So the process has been streamlined. So that's one option. And so everything within this program is a loan, so it does have to be paid back. So that's the one thing that you have to keep in mind is that this is a loan program. Other than the $10,000 grant, if you're able to get that, the whole entire program is a loan. So you have to be aware of that it is a loan. And you do have to pay it back at some point in time, but they're going to defer payments for a while, so you'll be fine. I believe it's up to 6 months. They'll defer payments and so forth. So you'll be fine with this if you need it. And
Anthony,
so here's,
sorry, we have a couple questions on this one.
yeah, sure, yeah.
So one is people are asking, how do they follow up on their application for an EIDA loan? And also, typically, how long do you think it takes to get the loan money?
Those are actually really great questions. I'm still trying to find that out. Thanks. Whoever asked those questions, thanks. What I did is, so once you go through this process, the SBA will give you like a number. So you have confirmation that you received it. But I actually applied for some funds for my business. I have not received anything. I applied over a week ago, and I know some other people applied a little longer. I have not received anything. Originally, this program was supposed to be between 3 and 5 days. They were supposed to put the money in your bank account. So I think it's going to be longer. I'm just going to guess it's going to be at least 30 days, depending on when you applied. I'm hoping that it's quicker than that because, you know, all of us businesses are in need right now. So it's going to be, I would say it's going to be about 30 days or so. And then what was the second part of that question, Chris? Was it about confirmation? I can't hear you. You're muted, Chris.
Just how to follow up.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So there really is nothing on the website that allows you to follow up on it. It's basically you send it to them, they give you a confirmation number, and that's it. One thing that I would do if you do apply for these funds, save a copy of your application just in case, and save a copy obviously of the confirmation number that they give you just in case someone says we never received your application. If someone does get in contact with you, you have that as a record. But as of right now, I don't have any information about the follow-up. We're all waiting. What happened just recently was that some Congress people have sent letters to the SBA administrators saying what's going on with this program. There hasn't been any comment. That was as of yesterday that I had looked that up. So I'm hoping within the next day or two or any time they'll update the website and provide information. There was a website in Massachusetts that was part of the SBA that was saying they're only going to give $1,000 per employee. But that was not confirmed by the SBA. The SBA did not comment on that. So I think this is just a huge undertaking that's going on, and it's sort of something that we're going to have to be patient. So thanks.
Okay, couple more things. Yeah, actually, the money, the grant money, I'm assuming it would be tax-free. Is that right?
I believe so. I'll have to look at it. Actually, by the way, the piece of legislation that was passed is over 800 pages, and I've gone through it, and it's just it'll make your eyes glaze over. Yeah, it's a big document. But as far as I know, that it would be tax deductible or not taxed on it, but please talk to your accountant about it. As I said, I've gone through the legislation, but I haven't gone through all the nuances of it. So yeah, talk with your accountant or send me an email later on. I'll look and see if there's some additional information on that. You can get in contact with me on my website, LootScout.com. So thanks for that question.
And do they send any email updates out about these loans? Like even a confirmation email?
Just no. Just so what happens is once you apply through the SBA disaster assistance, they give you a number. It's like a 9-digit number or something like that, 10-digit number, and that's it. Okay,
cool. Well, I guess that's all we have, folks. On that note, but we have a couple more questions. Is there any hard deadline to the EIDA or PPP or other programs?
As of right now, there is no deadline. I believe I don't have that information in front of me, but as of right now, if you're applying, this month or next month, you'll be fine. But what I would do is do not wait. Do it sooner rather than later, because if it holds up to the way that things are going right now, it's going to take a while. And as more and more people get in line, it's probably going to push the time where you actually do get some funding further and further down the road. So do not delay. Once you get off of this video conference, apply. Do it right away once you figure out which program is best for you.
And one more thing on this, Anthony, actually, would this program or any of the major programs apply to startups that don't have revenue yet?
So I think in that situation, because mainly the program is to help businesses that are existing businesses. You have to be in business by a certain deadline. I believe it's February something was a deadline that you had to have been in business. I think one of the options that is available to people if they're a startup is If you're a gig economy employee or 1099, unemployment benefits are going to be generous. And when I mean generous, if you're making $100,000 a year, it's not going to replace that full amount, or $80,000. But what's happening now with the monies that they put into the 2.2 trillion stimulus is that you're going to get whatever state you're in, you're going to get the normal benefits that you would get in your state. And then on top of that, they're going to add $600 from the federal government. So whatever your state provides, let's say your state provides $300, depending on your income, the federal government is going to put $600 on top of that. And that's going to be available for almost up to 4 months. So that might be another way, sort of a hack or around the applying for these kind of funds. So take a look at what's going on in your state. And I know the states have been overwhelmed, and Connecticut here, they say there's a 5-week backlog of applications for unemployment benefits. Okay, good. So let's keep going. So the Payroll Protection Program is what everyone's talking about. So this program is open. And when I say open, it's sort of changing. This program is directly through your bank or your credit union that's an SBA lender. So you're going through an intermediary, which is the banks and the credit unions. And so the program is up and running. Independent contractors and self-employed individuals can apply. This is a loan, and it's authorizing up to about $350 billion that could be forgivable to businesses. The maximum is about up to $10 million for businesses. The loan terms are going to be the same for everyone. And it's really what it's trying to do is replace the monies that you need for 8 weeks for employees. So there's a formula that they use. I believe it's 8 weeks of payroll times 2.5, and that's going to be part of the monies that they make available through this program. And if you use the monies for the things that they're telling you to use them for, rent, mortgage, if you have a mortgage on your business property, if you have, obviously payroll, if you use it for those items that are listed, what they'll do is it's forgivable. So this is a phenomenal opportunity to take advantage of monies that you need. And as you can see right there, it's anticipated that not more than 25 of the forgivable amount is going to be there. 25% of the forgivable amount may be for non-payroll costs. And the loan payment is going to be deferred for 6 months. So once we get out of this situation, you're not going to have to worry about payments on this program. And if you use it as you're supposed to, you're not going to have to pay a majority of this money back. So this is going to be a great program. It's 100% guaranteed by the SBA, which is really the full faith and trust of the United States government. So the banks have zero risk here. But banks are going slow because the rules, it took them a while to put the rules in place. And the maturity for the loan is 2 years. That may change down the road. But what's happening with this payroll protection program, some of the largest banks implemented their own rules. So for example, Bank of America, when they first started doing this program a few days ago, they were only making the program available for existing customers that had credit cards, that had lines of credit, or that had business loans. I've read something just recently that they said they're going to be changing that soon, and they were working only with existing customers. So if you're coming into the bank as a new customer today, they're not going to accept the application. Their goal is eventually to broaden the program, but right now they want to work with people where they have an existing relationship. Now that's Bank of America. All the banks have different programs, but from what I've seen, most of the banks want to work with existing customers first before they take on new customers. The other thing too is I don't recommend applying for multiple banks. It's going to slow the process down, and then they're going to see that within the system that you have multiple applications. So I think it will cause a problem. So talk to your bank. I bank with a bank here in the area, and they sent me an email saying that their portal on their website is not ready yet to accept PPP loans. So if I was interested in this particular program, I'd have to just continue to wait until they made it available. But this program is a phenomenal program. There's going to be monies available for forgiveness. You're not going to have to make any payments for at least 6 months. And so if this is something that you need, please take advantage of it. I just worked with a client that's a restaurant a few days ago, and he has been approved for the funding. He hasn't received it yet, but he's been approved. So any questions, Chris, on that?
Well, I have one to hopefully clarify for people, actually. Can you just clarify about which individuals exactly are eligible for the PPP? Like some people are paid by W-2, some are paid by 1099, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, as far as I know, it's for small businesses and sole proprietors can apply, and obviously independent contractors and self-employed individuals can apply. So all of the above are eligible for the program. The tricky part really is going to be, the bank is really going to be responsible for processing this paperwork. So it's going to come down to sort of their comfort level in processing this, because one of the things that the banks are concerned about, they're concerned about them processing a loan, and then later on the government coming back and saying, wow, you had a lot of loans that were fraudulent. Why did you approve those loans? So they're worried about some liability. And what's going to happen with this program, like most lending programs, is the federal government's going to set up an entity to actually buy a lot of these loans. So what's going to happen is the banks want to be able to help with the program, and then they want to be able to take these loans off their balance sheet so they can do more lending. And recently, Wells Fargo, which had a cap on the total amount of assets that they could have under their control, wasn't increased because a lot of customers weren't able to access the program. I think they had approved about $10 billion worth of loans, and because of some of the past practices that they had done, the Treasury Department said you can't grow over $2 trillion, but they recently increased that temporarily so they can do some loans. So the big banks are going to be sort of slow on this. If you work with a smaller bank, they may be willing to process this a little bit quicker, but the banks definitely a little bit leery about approving things too quickly and not dotting all their I's and crossing their T's, because they are worried about potential liability down the road. All set, Chris?
Hey, thanks, Anthony. One question came in is, if you're an independent contractor, I believe the question was if you don't have a business bank account, like maybe you just have a personal bank account, what would the process be? So if you're an independent contractor, that's really going to be up to how the banks want to handle it. While it's a federal program, the banks are the ones who are actually implementing it. So that's a question that you would talk to your bank about. And this is sort of an aside, in the future, what I'd recommend to that person is just open up a business bank account just for future reference, just because liability issues, when you're an independent contractor, if you don't have an entity set up, if it ever comes time that you're sued for whatever work you're doing, they're personally suing you and you're personally liable for it. So, as an independent contractor, I would set up, and this is more so for future advice, create an LLC of some type, and then also open up a business bank account, and create some separation from your personal assets, because right now, anything you do, you're going to be personally liable for. So that's sort of some advice. But then also too, I would talk to the bank that you're working with, give them a call, or go down to the local branch if they're open, and see what their thoughts are on this. Okay, super. And actually, just one comment here. So we have some great news from Justin Silverio, who says he actually applied for the PPP last Friday, and it went into the system on Tuesday, and then a half hour later it was approved. So things are working and getting through. So I think people just have to be a little bit patient if they haven't received it yet.
Oh, absolutely. Well, one thing I'd like to do, I'm going to move forward, but I'd like Justin to send you a message to see if the monies have been dispersed, because I know that a lot has been approved, but the dispersal process has not been taking place. So I'd be interested to see if the monies have been dispersed, because there were some questions about issues around paperwork with some of the banks. So I'm going to move forward. Chris, any response yet?
No, super. We'll maybe Justin can give a couple comments at the end here.
Okay, great. Okay. So there are some challenges for venture-backed companies, because there's an affiliate rule in that if the venture capital company has the ability to control the business, then they're not eligible. There is some back and forth going on between Congress and the Treasury Department to see if they can make venture-backed companies eligible for this program. But as of right now, through sort of the affiliation rule and owning more than 20% and so forth, they're not eligible. But please follow this, because this is constantly changing. There's a lot of back and forth on this. Certainly venture-backed companies are a big part of our economy. There's lots of startups out there that are venture-backed But the main thing that the government is concerned about is control. Does the venture-backed company have, full control over the company? And a lot of times they do, if you look at, the legal lease and the agreements that they have. So this is ongoing. I do have a couple articles that, I looked at in the Wall Street Journal. So I'm hoping that this will change in the immediate future. There's been a lot of pushback, and there's been a lot of talk about it change. But as of right now, venture-backed companies that have control over the company generally are not eligible. And so there's another program that's not getting as much attention. There is an SBA Express, a bridge loan program that's available to businesses that have a relationship with the bank. So that's something that is available. Not a lot of people are talking about that, but that program is available. There is an express or a bridge loan available through the SBA. But what I would say, most business owners, I would say the PPP program is your best option because of the ability to forgive a good portion of that. Or if the PPP program is not something that you want to take advantage of, the going directly to the SBA and the economic injury disaster loan is a great option, especially with that $10,000 that's forgivable. So those two are really the main ones that I wanted to emphasize. There are a ton of different state programs options that are available. I'm not going to get into every one, but as a former economic development director here in Connecticut, every state has economic development offices. Every region has an economic development entity. So there's tons of different programs, and this is almost impossible to monitor depending on what state you're in. I know that a lot of you are in Massachusetts. I'd look at the Department of Economic Development in Massachusetts and see what programs they have, because a lot of programs have gone online, and because the demand was so great, those programs have been shut down. I'll give you an example. In Connecticut, we had a bridge loan program that was put together prior to the federal stimulus being passed, and within a few days, they were overwhelmed. They had over 4,000 applications in a couple days or so. They kept it open for, I think, 5 days, and on Friday they shut it down and said, we're not going to offer any more people the program. We're going to deal with the 4,000 applications that we have right now. And then they said their intention really was only to make this available as a bridge loan before the federal monies became available. But originally the governor here in Connecticut was going to make $25 million available. Once he saw the demand for the program, he said, we'll make $50 million available through this program. So every state program, economic development organization has a program. And these are just some right here. So look at your state economic development entity. The Massachusetts Growth Capital Corporation had a program. They're no longer accepting applications for their program because they were overwhelmed as well. There are some regional economic development programs that may offer loans, revolving loans that could be available to you. So depending on what region or county you're in, do a search online and see what comes up. And this stuff is fluid, it's dynamic, it's constantly changing. Every few days, someone's offering some kind of assistance. Another great resource for people in the venture space is the New England Venture Capital Association has some information on their website, different resources and information that might be of help to some people who have venture-backed companies. And then here, this is not necessarily a state program, but I have an article here or a headline: Connecticut Bank halts small dollar loan program due to high demand. Liberty Bank here in Connecticut was offering up to $5,000 to people who were harmed by the COVID-19 pandemic, which I think is everyone. I mean, we've all been harmed in some way. And the demand was just overwhelming. They had put together X amount of millions of dollars to make available through this program, and they were overwhelmed. So if you get anything from this, live cast, is that pretty much all these entities are overwhelmed. I mean, what's happening is unprecedented. I mean, I hope we never see anything like this. So if anything, definitely be patient, but also be persistent and making sure that you get your share of resources to move forward. And then there's other opportunities. These things are changing every day. The Red Backpack Fund, Sarah Blakely, the woman who created Spanx, I think she's a phenomenal entrepreneur. They have a program where they're offering up to $5,000 to 1,000 businesses, and these are going to be for female entrepreneurs. So if you just Google the Red Backpack Fund, that might be an opportunity for you. And there's a common theme here. Most of the monies that are available through these corporations and other organizations, they're capping. Sometimes they're $500 grants, sometimes they're $1,000, sometimes they're $5,000, sometimes they're $10,000. So they are being capped because most of these programs want to help as many people as possible. And if you've been in a pitch competition and prepared for, putting information in, you'll be familiar with going through these different application processes, because it is a process and you have to weigh whether it makes sense to invest your hard-earned time in some of these applications, especially if you're only going to get $500. Now, not to say that that doesn't matter, but for some people, their time is worth more than the $500 that they potentially may get. And I'm sure with all the other programs that are overwhelmed, Verizon has a program, Berkshire Bank has a program, Amazon has a program, Facebook has a program. For people in Massachusetts, you might want to look at the Handbook of Small Business Owners, Financial Relief. There's a ton of different resources in there, and I don't know how often they're updating that, but there's a ton of information in the Financial Relief, the Handbook for Small Business Owners. I found that to be a really good resource. Anything else, Chris, so far? We're good?
Well, we have a lot of these resources. We'll actually add these. We're missing some of the ones you mentioned, Anthony, but we have a lot of them on our blog already.
Oops, sorry.
And so we'll make sure we get those added. And again, we'll be following up with resources after this meeting. Google is also offering, someone mentioned, Peter, ad credits. I know MailChimp is offering credits for their email services. I think almost every major company is offering credits to their existing customers, and in many cases offering free premium services to new customers as well. So definitely you can look around. At this point, why don't we ask Justin for his experience and see if what information he could share. If you don't mind, I'll unmute you, Justin. 1 second. So yeah, Justin, just take a minute. Tell us about your experience and what the status is of your loan now.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. So I've been about a week and a half prior to last Friday, I was just contacting regional banks. So the banks that I've generally bank with and do a lot of loans with. So I talked to both of them, and it seemed like no bank was on the same path to getting this approved or set up. Mm-hmm. Seems like everybody had their own timeline and didn't really understand fully how to submit information. One of the banks that I talked to luckily had everything up and running on Friday, so they were able to provide me with the application and additional forms that I needed to complete so I can get my documentation together. And really all that it was just the quarterly 941. So they could tie out my actual payroll numbers.
Okay. Which bank was it though?
It was Lowell 5.
Oh, okay.
Yep. So I submitted my application on Friday, touch base with the banker throughout the weekend. They were working over the weekend to get everything, all the applications submitted. By the time they actually submitted my application, it wasn't until Tuesday around 3:30. And then by 4 o'clock, it was approved.
Oh, wow.
That's great.
Yeah, it was quick.
Yeah. And what's happened since then?
Nothing. So I asked him when they anticipate the funds being dispersed, and he said they don't even know how they're going to disperse the funds. That hasn't even been provided to them. So that's something that I think the SBA is still trying to figure out how they're actually going to disperse within SBA guidelines. So so I'm still waiting to find out when it's going to be dispersed. But one thing that just to share some details on what I'm planning to do. I was on another webinar with a tax accountant and attorney, and he recommended anything that if you get an SBA, the PPP approved and you receive the funds, create a separate bank account so the funds can go directly into that bank account so that when you pay payroll, rent, mortgage, anything like that, it's coming out of that separate account. So when you go for forgiveness, you can see a direct in and out from that separate bank account so it doesn't get commingled with other funds.
Yeah, that's really good advice. I mean, now you have a really clean tracking way to verify. So yeah, that's really smart.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much for sharing, Justin.
Yeah, happy to. Thanks, guys.
Yep, good. So let's get back. So there's tons of opportunities, and it's constantly changing and evolving. Let's get into investors and crowdfunding. And this is some information I put together a number of days ago. At the time, there were 35 states that had stay-at-home orders in place. More than 290 million Americans, about 88% of the country, was impacted by this, which is phenomenal. So when we talk about investors, the world has changed. I mean, we've seen the WeWorks of the world, how, they got everyone excited about their business, but the numbers did not work. I think if you're looking for venture-backed monies, or you are a venture-backed company, your path to profitability is really, really important now. It's no longer, we'll get to profitability, once we scale and have 100 million customers. I mean, that has changed now. Companies want to see a clear path to profitability. And for those people who thought marketing was most important, no, the numbers are the business. Marketing is important, but your numbers are the business. So that's going to be something that you need to be aware of. So just some things on approaching investors during this difficult time. Especially angel investors. Angel investors are individuals. They're people, and their portfolios could be impacted by what is happening in the stock market. So some people who've been part of syndicates or angel groups, they may not be as willing to invest. Although some angels are really savvy, and they know that some of the best opportunities happen during a down market where they can put in money and get a larger share of a business. So it's going to go both ways. It's really going to be based on the investors that you're talking to. So same things still apply. You look for a warm introduction. So if you know a friend of a friend who knows someone, if you can get that warm introduction, that's going to help you leapfrog in front of all the other pitch decks that are just sent blindly, that never are read, and end up in the ether somewhere that no one will ever see as space junk. So warm introductions are still important. Do your homework. Still look at once you do get an introduction, look in, see if the person that you're getting an introduction has a website, or if the company has a website. See what kind of areas they specialize in. If they specialize in consumer packaged good companies, in your technology company that is not in that space, most likely you're not going to be a good fit for them. So make sure that you do some research and make sure you see the types of businesses that the investor or the fund has invested in the past. That still is key, is very important. It'll save you a lot of wasted time. One of the things that people overlook all the time, and actually I had a company the other day solicit me for funds, and I know these are desperate times, but they were trying to get right to the money right away. They were like, Anthony, we need this money right away. I knew nothing about the company. They sent me some information, and the information, I didn't understand what they were doing. So one of the ways to get investors really interested into what you're doing, don't ask for money first. I mean, that's the worst thing you can do. Make a connection with them, maybe set up a Zoom call and say, John, I'm building this business, and I know you've been very successful, or Sally, or whatever the person's name. Do you have any advice for me? How can I really make this business go? And you'll find that once people give you advice, they start feeling like they have a vested interest in your success. And that advice eventually could lead to money. Now, it's not going to lead to money on that first call, but down the road, it could, because what you're trying to do, investing is all about developing relationships with people. People do not want to part with their hard-earned cash. Think about Mr. Wonderful on Shark Tank. He's probably the most ruthless shark. He doesn't want his money just going anywhere. He loves his money. His money is like his kids. He wants them to come back and generate more money for himself. So one of the things that you should do right in this time is seek advice first. Now, certainly, that you want to raise capital from that person down the road. So develop the relationship, first, and then get that advice. And then maybe in a couple of weeks or a month follow up, or develop that relationship with the person. Then, ask that person, do you know someone who may be interested in investing in this company? Or would you be interested in investing in this? And if you are, under what terms, or what would you'd like to do, in terms of your involvement with the company? Because a lot of angels, they're individuals. A lot of angels just want to get involved in a company where they can feel like they can put their knowledge to good use. The other thing too, the company that solicited me, they sent me 4 documents. It's probably better to have a Dropbox or a Google account set up where you can go and then give you a link to all the documents. I think that's much easier, much more efficient than sending, big attachments and emails. So that's just another way of doing it. And for a lot of the companies that are startups, you should have all your organizational documents in a Dropbox or a Google Drive account where it's all organized in folders and that sort of thing. It just gives someone access to it. Be patient. I know you need money right now. I know times are tough. You still have to be patient because the person on the other side may be having challenges themselves. They may have 5 or 6 portfolio companies. They may be saying, okay, we promise to do follow-on investments, but we only have money to do 2 out of the 5. So which 3 are we going to eliminate? So there's some tough challenges that the investors are going to have to make. And not all investors are multi-millionaires. To be an accredited investor, all you have to have is make $200,000 a year or $300,000 a year as a couple for a few years, or have over $1 million in assets, excluding your home. So that's what an accredited investor is. If you meet any of that criteria, you could be an accredited investor and you might not necessarily be a multimillionaire. So think about that. So be patient and always, always, always ask for referrals. If someone's not interested, say, hey, John, thanks, or Sally, thanks for responding. Do you know someone else who may be interested in this? And who knows, they may give you a good referral. Good. All right.
Yeah, definitely. Great advice.
Question, Chris?
And actually, Robert Nagel's an angel investor, and he commented that the angel investors are active. They're open for business. So if anyone has questions, you can put a chat message in there or contact Robert Nagel. We're only at about 4 minutes left, so let's try to kind of start wrapping up here.
Yeah, okay. So I'll get through this. And so just crowdfunding may be an opportunity. When I say crowdfunding in 2012, the Jumpstart Our Business Startups Act was passed, the Jobs Act was passed in 2012, 2016. It made investment crowdfunding available. You'll hear investment crowdfunding. Sometimes you'll hear it referred to as an equity investment crowdfunding. And so although equity crowdfunding is sort of a misnomer, you don't always have to offer equity. So investment crowdfunding, or you'll hear it referred to as regulation crowdfunding. Republic, WeFunder, and Start Engine are some of the crowdfunding platforms. So for the first time in history, starting in 2016, any investor can invest in privately held companies, not just angel investors and VC firms. So that's an opportunity. As the angel investor mentioned on the line, yeah, these companies, these platforms are open and people are investing. Actually, this company, interesting in the corner, called Fleeting, they were a company that was on. There was a competition on an app called Convos, and Convos had a $100,000 pitch competition, and this company Fleeting won. And now they're raising money on Republic. This other company right here raised over $1 million through the Jobs Act, and now they're raising money again. And it's a vending machine that uses AI and actually can look at your face and process orders and so forth. She's raised almost $200,000. This is her second raise, and you can see on this platform, Start Engine, they've got a valuation of $25 million. They've raised over $200,000, and the minimum investment is $250,000. So that's pretty interesting. Dawn Dixon is the woman's name, and the company is called PopComm. So if you want to learn about that, you can go there. And then here, this is great news right here. Some changes could be coming to the Jobs Act under Title III of the Jobs Act, which was passed in 2012. The SEC is now seeking feedback because they're thinking about raising the crowdfunding limits to $5 million, which would be great. Right now, the limit is $1 million that you can raise a year on these platforms. And by the way, all the action has to take place on the platform. You can't send an email to someone saying, hey, I got a great investment. You're going to make millions and millions of dollars. You can't do that. All the action has to take place on the platform. But this right here is great if they do implement this new rule. While they're taking feedback right now, we'll be able to raise up to $5 million on these crowdfunding platforms. So that's going to be good news. And just some things on positioning your business for survival. We may go a couple minutes over. If people have to leave, I totally understand. If you think about most restaurants, would do weren't really doing their own food delivery. They may do DoorDash, but now restaurants have pivoted and said, we don't want to give our money to DoorDash and Grubhub. So now they're doing their own food delivery. They're being much more safer with how they handle food and all these kind of things. They're doing contactless drop-off now in some places. So they've had to pivot to survive. In fact, there's a Michelin star restaurant in Brooklyn that never did delivery, and now they're delivering their own food and innovative takeout. So things are changing. There again, in deciding how you're going to pivot, you got to make sure the numbers work. Do the numbers work? Are you satisfying a hair on fire problem in the marketplace? So that's still really, really important. And the other thing too, I always talk about in my presentations, capital fit is really important. So if your friend got capital from a certain way, the PPP program, that might not be right for you. The program that might be right for you may be for you to go through the SBA the Economic Injury Disaster Assistance Program. In other words, you don't want to be wearing your friend's pants. You want capital fit specifically to you. You want it to be bespoke. So make sure the capital fits you. Don't just do something because someone else is doing it. As I said before, the business owner's dream is access to capital that is good for the business, cheap, and fast. And I think we're going to get, as always, you only get two of those. So I think we're going to get cheap capital that's good for the business, but it's not going to be fast, especially with some of these bank programs. So think about that. What kind of capital do you want? Do you want it to be good, cheap, or fast? Pick only two of those. And this is a slide I use on some of my other presentations. There's so many different other ways to raise capital. For people who have 401ks, you can tap your 401k and put that money into your business. I know it's risky, but as an entrepreneur, it may be an option for you to fund your business. People who have homes, home equity lines of credit is still an option. Obviously, you're putting an additional mortgage on your home and your home is securing it, but that's still an option. Patreon, for some businesses, a Patreon account, setting up a newsletter and getting people to contribute monthly is an option. The business competitions, I haven't really been seeing a lot of business competitions. I think that's one area that has slowed down dramatically. But there'll be business competitions coming back online. And the other thing I didn't mention is the CDFIs. If you don't know what a CDFI is, I'll give you a quick example. Community development financial institutions are non-bank lenders, usually nonprofit lenders. And they're working in a lot of times in low to moderate income communities. They have a lot of special programs. I used to work for a CDFI lending money to businesses, and the CDFI I just worked for, they just put a new program online. They're going to offer up to a $20,000 line of credit, and it's going to be forgivable. And the reason that they're able to do that is because they're getting money from the state of Connecticut to help businesses with under 20 employees. So look at some community development financial institutions in your state. Just Google CDFI and see if there's one available in your state. So there's some other things I'm not going to get into. Obviously the accelerators, the economic development programs are still available. And just kind of in closing, some of the future things I see as a result of this crisis. I think there's going to be a lot of pandemic products that are going to come out as a result of this, because if it happened today, it can happen again. The shared kitchens and cloud kitchens are going to grow dramatically as a result of this, because a lot of these businesses, restaurants in New York, I think are going to have a hard time opening, or in large urban areas again. And so I think the shared kitchen or cloud kitchens are going to be popular. I think contactless delivery is here to stay in a lot of industries. I think it's going to morph out of the restaurant industry and go into a lot of places. I think a lot of companies are going to look at a reduction of labor and cost savings, especially these stores now that have been closed and they're doing a lot of their business online. I think a lot of resources are going to be put towards online. And then obviously video conferencing. We're in the video conferencing era right now. I think that's going to be huge. I think every business is going to have some way of interacting with their customers through video conferencing. Web orders, obviously those are going to increase. I think it's going to be a bigger part of businesses. More emphasis on data and technology. That's going to be huge. And then working from home is going to be, I think it's going to be validated that we can be just as productive working from home as we can from an office. So those are some of the predictions. And so there are success stories. As I mentioned, the Michelin star restaurant that's now doing takeout and delivery. A lot of the craft brewing, craft alcohol businesses have pivoted to producing hand sanitizer. So there's a lot of different scenarios where people are pivoting to be successful in this economy, and that's what we have to do. You can and you must do it. As an entrepreneur, you have an obligation to your family, to the economy, and to your employees to make sure that you make it through and use all the resources that you have available to you. And I love this quote by Maya Angelou, that you can only become truly accomplished at something you love. Don't make money your goal. Instead, pursue the things you love doing and then do them so well that people can't take their eyes off of you. That's one thing I think a lot of entrepreneurs lose sight of. They're more interested sometimes in the money than solving a hair-on-fire problem and creating value. So that's one of the things I want us to focus in on here.
Love that.
Thank you. Be smart and be safe. I'm just about done, Chris. And remember, create value. When value exceeds price, customers and you should be buying. And if you're not buying when the value exceeds the price, then you're going to have a problem selling your product or service. So once again, invest in yourself. The book's available. The full-size book is available. The little mini books, which I didn't show you them. They're little mini books like this. These are also available online. Only book 1 is available. Book 2 and book 3 are at the printer. So if you found this of value, please support me at LootScout.com. If you need to reach out to me, connect with me on LinkedIn. And as I mentioned, if you buy the full-size book, you will get a free hour consultation. Thanks, Chris. I know I went fast, but so much we could talk about.
Yeah, no, this was super. Thanks so much for your time today, Anthony. And the best place for people to follow up with you would be LootScout.com, right?
Yeah, they can go on LootScout and click the contact me spot, or they can go to LinkedIn and connect with me there. And then if they have any questions, I'm here to answer any questions. Okay,
awesome. And can we also send out these slides?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. These slides are available. Yep, you can send this.
Okay.
I'll email this to you, Chris.
Okay, we'll do that, and we'll also post them on the blog for any other viewers who are watching this video after the fact. So we look forward to more seminars. Please join Boston New Technology for more upcoming events to be announced soon. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.